Hi, welcome to our second video on relational intelligence. We are going to be looking at setting boundaries today as we continue exploring values-based boundaries and alignment of relationships. We're going to start with 1 Corinthians 16:14. The verse states, "Do everything in love." God, thank you for this opportunity. I pray that as we continue to explore relationships and boundaries and values, that everyone who comes here and is listening is coming with an open mind and an open heart, and that there is a clear message that is given through me. Amen. As a reminder, personal boundaries are limits that we set to protect our well-being, values, and a sense of self within a relationship. I want to revisit a chart that when we first talked about boundaries, we looked at. So this is one that you should be familiar with, but you might want to revisit and look at again, just as we explore boundaries in different areas that we can implement them. But the 7 types of boundaries that we've talked about are time, mental, emotional, material, internal, conversation, and physical. And when we use these boundaries, who benefits? Everyone in the relationship benefits. Healthy relationships honor boundaries. This happens, your boundaries are honored and the other person's boundaries are honored. When that happens, it leads to connection, love, and respect. Unhealthy relationships use guilt, obligation, or fear to manipulate. That leads to hurt. These are a few questions that might help you look at, are your boundaries working or possibly missing? This is not all of the questions there are, but some of them, when you think about the context of a specific relationship or a group that you might be a part of, if you consider, do you constantly feel exhausted when in that environment or with a certain person? Do you feel uncomfortable around certain people? Do you feel resentful or bitter towards someone or a situation? Do you feel like your time is not your own? Are your values visible in the relationship? Do you find yourself making excuses or lying to avoid a person or a situation? Do you avoid conversations with a certain person? Or does the relationship feel one-sided? Again, this is not all the questions you can ask, but if you find yourself answering yes to some of these, you might need to reflect on that relationship and see, do I need to set some boundaries? When we set healthy boundaries, they take into consideration your priorities and values. So when I set a boundary, my personal priorities and values are what drives them. The boundaries are to control your own actions and peace. We cannot control other people, and so a boundary is to help us control what we do and our own internal peace. Healthy boundaries are clear, clearly defined, clearly stated. They are flexible when needed. We've talked about flexible and rigid boundaries. Flexible boundaries are healthy boundaries. They encourage connection. They help you confidently say no. And they have stated consequences. So I want to look at using some general personal boundaries to explore how we set them, how we can state them, and what it looks like when we communicate them within a relationship. These are some general ones. You don't have to take them, you can. But just ones that you could have to set limits for yourself. So it might be, I need a heads up before people stop by my house. I don't want people to just drop by unexpectedly. I will not respond to calls, text, or any kind of messages after 8 p.m. I will not lend money to anyone. I will only give money. So we're going to take each one of these boundaries and we're going to look at how you can state it in a clear way that gives the reasoning and the consequence. So if the first one, I need a heads up before people stop by my house. If you want to communicate this within a relationship, it might be, I would love to have you visit. I need to know at least a few hours before you are coming, or I may not be able to adjust my schedule to see you. And you can put any time in there. It could be 24 hours notice. I need to know a day ahead. But it's clear. It's still keeping an invitation for the interaction and the visit. And it's saying, if you don't do this, I might not be able to adjust my schedule and see you. The next boundary, I will not respond to calls, texts, or messages after 8 p.m. To state this within a relationship, it might be, I have a personal boundary for my time and my rest. I don't respond to any communications after 8 p.m. If you call, text, or message me, I will likely not answer until the next day. Again, engaging in communication, it states clearly that if I don't respond, it's not about you, it's about me, because I don't want to be obligated or expected to answer a communication after 8 p.m. That's my time. The next one, I will not lend money to anyone. I will only give money. So if this is one that I want to state in a relationship, I might say it is, I'm unable to let you borrow money. I have a personal rule. I do not lend money to anyone because biblically it's not good to be indebted to others. So I will only give money to people. And at this time, I don't have it to give. It is not saying anything about the other person. It is simply stating, I have a principle for myself that I don't want to get into a binding relationship where someone owes me money. And so I am happy to give it away, but right now I don't have it. If I did, I would, but I don't. And so it's my personal boundary that I know if I'm going to say yes or no to someone with, and it gives me a guideline on how to communicate it. So it's important to remember that setting boundaries is a continuous process, that just because I do this one time does not mean people are going to honor it, understand it, or even like it. Especially like that last one. If someone wants to borrow money from me and they ask on a regular basis and I have to keep telling them no, they might not like it. But if I am consistent and I continue to say it, then it's going to set. But you got to remember, it's a continuous process. It doesn't change the first time you state a boundary. And it will take time to learn how to set and maintain them effectively. It might feel awkward. It might even feel mean the first few times that you set a boundary, especially if it's in a relationship that has never really had boundaries. So know there are emotions connected to them on both sides. It takes time and it takes practice. What is most important is consistency. And so once you state a boundary, holding to the consequence and continuing to state it is going to be what's most important if you're going to have healthy boundaries with healthy relationships that bring connection, love, and respect to them. Great job.